Why do people say they've been abducted by aliens, and more importantly, what causes them to believe this? The claim of encountering aliens has been occurring since the 1960s, when Barney and Benny Hill's 1961 alleged encounter with an alien was investigated by the Air Force. This story was never concluded to be real or fake, however, many have followed it since. Dr. Richard J. McNally, a psychologist at Harvard, stated on this event, "The alien abduction phenomenon, in my opinion, shows how sincere non-psychotic individuals can develop beliefs about and false memories of incredible experiences that never happened."
One embattled psychiatrist, John Mack, argues that these experiences cannot be understood in a Western rationalist tradition of science. Researchers in the Department of Psychology, Richard McNally and Susan Clancy, counter that explanation through multi-phase, personality-driven explanations for why people with no overt psychopathology report alien encounters have proliferated space with blockbuster movies about aliens.
So, if false memories can be just as vivid and convincing as thinking you've encountered an alien, how do they form? John Mack of Harvard Medical School was a champion of alien abductees and the truth behind their stories for decades. However, no real evidence could ever be found in a laboratory, which caused cognitive scientists to raise their eyebrows. What McNally has said about Mack is, "These people are almost never psychotic," says McNally. "They're not lying," but Mack entertains a range of explanations that are far-fetched at best. Therefore, concluding that no evidence is convincing enough to say that any of these instances have been legit. Psychologist Roy Baumeister argues that these reports are made by people who are sane but in some way want to regain control of their lives.
People who believe they've been abducted by aliens have always resided at the farthest fringes of science, and the recent claim by UFO cult known as the Raelians that they had cloned a human being does little to endear abductees to the mainstream. The sex leader Rael maintains that he was plucked from a volcano by almond eyes aliens who granted him an audience with Jesus, Buddha, and Muhammad, each of whom confirmed that humans are descended from extraterrestrials. But for every Rael, there are hundreds of workaday individuals who claim to have been abducted by aliens. These individuals do not flower into gurus. They struggle alone with memories of unintelligible messages, temporary paralysis, and humanoid creatures hovering over their beds. Their stories don't always check out, but their minds do. Psychological tests confirm that abductees are rarely psychotic or mentally ill. Some 3 million Americans believe they've encountered bright lights and incurred strange bodily marks indicative of a possible encounter with aliens, according to a recent poll.
The recurring theme of sexual probing slash molestation by alleged abductees is not to be ignored. McNally and Susan Clancy, another notable psychologist, came to the conclusion that a large factor in the creation of these false memories has been repressed childhood sexual abuse. They found that these women were significantly more likely to create false memories of non-traumatic events in a lab than were women who had always remembered being sexually abused or women who have never been sexually abused. This allowed them to come to the conclusion, through various studies and focus groups, that false memories had been formed and were a direct cause of recalling these events. Real trauma survivors exhibit a broad range of memory impairments on the task. Recovered memory survivors, whether the trauma is sexual abuse or alien abduction, exhibit just one impairment on this task, the tendency to create false memories.
Psychologist Roy Baumeister, PhD of Case Western Reserve University, argues that abduction reports are made by masochists who unconsciously want to relinquish control of their lives. The loss of control is manifest in humiliating encounters with an alien race. One study found that among abductees, 80% of women and 50% of men reported being examined naked on a table by humanoid beings. In fact, many abductees blame aliens for sexual dysfunction and emotional disturbances. To be sure, there is a surfeit of elaborate sex and abduction reports,